night with a note about Chicago, not necessarily about the Bears, but about Chicago, because on Monday evening, Liam Hendriks made his return to professional baseball, Major League Baseball with the Chicago White Sox after his battle with cancer. He struck out cancer, made his, I guess you would call it a re-debut Monday night against the LA Angels. And of course, everybody knows by now, if you're a loyal viewer of the show, I'm an Angels fan, so I was locked into that game. It was really one of the most electric regular season games I've seen in quite some time. The Angels had a rookie come in, Ben Joyce, who came in and was throwing 105 miles per hour. And still, it was the second least exciting thing because Liam Hendriks returned to Major League Baseball, looked pretty good. The results notwithstanding, but listen, he was back out there. And it's one of the things that we love about sports. So it was awesome to be a part of it. It was awesome to see, to celebrate with the city of Chicago, watching him make that amazing comeback. So I appreciate everybody allowing me to be on along for the ride. But you know what? We got a great show in store for you tonight. So let's get to it. Sammy, let's go ahead and start it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Ray.
Trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It is Tuesday night. You know what that means. It is time for Take It to the Rank. And traditionally, we were normally joined by Carmen Vitale, but she is on vacation. But have no fear. Sammy has got us the guest who we're so excited. And you know what? I'm not going to waste much time talking because I will just tell you right now, he was a standout at Norton High School in Ohio before going on to Cincinnati last season. He was a second team All-American Athletic Conference selection after leading the Bearcats with 54 receptions, 899 yards. You couldn't give him the one extra yard, stat keeper, but he did have 9 touchdowns in 11 games. He's a junior Olympian with top-end speed. Don't look at the 40 times or whatever. Watch him play football. He is one of the fastest guys out there. He should have been a second-round selection, but the Bears were very lucky. We're fortunate that we were able to get him in the 4th round. His pro comp, let me tell you something right now. Lance Zierlein, this isn't me. This isn't Adam Rank, the biased Bears fan saying that. This is Lance Zierlein, noted professional. His pro comp, T.Y. Hilton, who I hear and I remember was a pretty good football player. So without further ado, let's welcome to the Sick Podcast, Tyler Scott. Tyler, how are you living?
I'm living good. Just got back a little bit ago from practice, actually. Another OTA down in the books, OTA 4. So I'm living pretty good.
You know what? I said this to you in the green room. I love the fact that you're wearing the Bears swag. That means a lot to me as a Bears. I'm sitting here, I'm rocking your jersey. I went out, maybe 8 years ago and purchased your jersey. I had the look at the name of the back.
Gotcha.
But listen, I love that you're wearing the Bears swag. I love to see that because we want everybody, we want you guys to embrace the culture. We think that it's a fun community of Bears fans, and we're really excited to have you. And the thing that's cool, I was just mentioning a moment ago about Lance Zierlein's projection, is that anytime, if you ever look at Lance's scouting reports, he'll always put in pro comps, and it'll be guys that you've barely heard. He reminds me of Ben Skoronski. He's a Jalen Sills or David Sills or whoever, they're Michael Bain. It's never a well-known name like T.Y. Hilton. So I'm delighted by that. When you hear things like that, what does it mean to you as somebody who grew up loving football and they're comparing you to T.Y. Hilton, who's an exceptional player? How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's an honor. You grow up, watching these guys, and you just grow up watching NFL, loving football, loving just the game itself, just hearing such big names. And then you finally get to that stage, and you got guys saying, man, you remind me of this person, or man, you remind me of that person. It just means an honor, and it just means that you're doing something right. And so I just take it with all gratitude.
And he also wore the number 13, so it also kind of lends itself. But listen, I I do like the comparison. I thought it was very apt. Once I'm like, yeah, you know what? That is pretty good. You know, and I watched, I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of Cincinnati games live during the regular season, but going back and watching what you were able to do, you can see the skills and how it's going to translate to the NFL level. Now, obviously, T.Y. Hilton was a slot receiver. You played a little bit of slot in the first go round of OTAs. How's it been going? I know you were an outside receiver in college. How's it been going? How do the Bears, how do they see you playing on Sundays?
Yeah, I mean, I think just still kind of figuring it out. You know, just for me, especially in kind of the beginning stages, I've kind of been everywhere. You know, in the slot, out wide. And the crazy thing about it is that, you know, me playing, you know, mainly, you know, in college being more of an outside receiver and now kind of moving inside, it hasn't really clicked with me like, oh man, you're playing inside, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't kind of see it as necessarily like, okay, I'm playing outside now. Okay, I'm about to go play inside. It's just kind of like, all right, cool. I just got to see the defense just a little bit differently than what I would if I were playing an outside receiver. And I mean, I'm enjoying it though. Like, I just love, you know, kind of the different positions I've been put in. It just kind of allows me to use my skills a lot more than, you know, maybe than I was able to do in college. And just kind of tap into another skill set that, you know, sometimes I didn't even know I had, you know. It's just kind of just making me an overall better receiver. It's just, you know, making my creative juices, you know, flow as well. You know, just being able to see different things, react to different things. You know, the biggest difference from outside to inside is, you know, things just happen a lot faster. You know, you see the field a little differently. You know, it's a little bit different, you know, as far as just the play inside. And like I said, I'm enjoying it. It's just another challenge, you know, to the game. It just makes me think a little harder.
Are you also getting an opportunity to play some special teams? I know you backed up as a returner last year for Cincinnati. Is that something that you could see in your future with the Bears?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I love the special teams coach here. You know, he's really been a huge help. You know, I've been catching a lot of punts. You know, we haven't gotten a kickoff return yet, but been doing a lot of punts, catching gunner. You know, that's one thing that they raved about, you know, with me coming out of college, is my gunner film and just how explosive I was there and just the impact I had there. Gunner, and then just being available in any other phase. You know, we've kind of been taking it slow as far as the special teams phases, but just the conversations I've had with the coach, we're going to rock and roll for sure, you know, on special teams.
Well, don't worry about returning kicks because they're about to legislate that out of the game. So you're not going to have to worry about that much.
They just mentioned that like 2 days ago. They're like, yeah, the kickoff rule, they just made a new kickoff rule. And, you know, so it's interesting.
That's somebody's job. Like, don't take that away. Like, that's one of the most enjoyable parts of the game. But in any event, if there's any little piece of advice, and listen, I'm a nobody. I don't know much, but I will say this: whatever this translates to anything that you do in life. Is like, if they're like, hey, can you do this? Just be like, yep, obviously I can do that. Like, can you kick? Sure. Can you long snap? Like, obviously. Like, just always go along with it. And then you can always YouTube it later. Be like, okay, how do I long snap? Like, whatever it is. Just be agreeable and just be like, oh, yeah, I got this locked in. The gunner thing, though, I did notice that because is that something like obviously as a wide receiver, you go out there, you love making plays, you love scoring touchdowns. Again, 9 of them last year in 11 games. But is there something special about being a gunner and then just going down and lighting somebody up and having a good time? Like, what is it about special teams that it just attracts? That what do you love about it?
I mean, first of all, flips field position. You know, it's a huge part of the game. It provides a spark as well, making a big tackle or you know, getting somebody to muff a punch or whatever. You know, it's just a huge part in the game that people overlook. And I think just the position itself, it's a competitive position. You know, at receiver, you know, you'll get a flag, you know, especially here at the pro level, you breathe on a guy, you know, you can't, you know, hold guys after 5 yards down the field. Like, there's different rules that were a little different in college. And at gunner, they can put their hands on you. You know, they can essentially hold you, so to speak, you know, during that whole rep. And it's just, you know, really just a one-on-one, who wants it more type of deal. You know, that's just kind of how I see it, you know, and I took, you know, a lot of pride in it when I was at Cincinnati. That's kind of how I found my niche to first get on the field was through Gunner. Somebody got hurt, and I was able to step up, and I took it and ran with it. And so I just took a lot of pride in it, and just kind of realized the importance of it, early on, and how much it can affect the game, and just being able to kind of open up and run as well. It's just one of those things where you get a good release, and you got to run a 40-yard dash and a certain amount of time, and you're in an open field too, so they got 53 yards to work, and you get down there, it's like, well, you just got to do your job. But I just love the competitiveness of the position itself. Just going and doing a one-on-one battle with somebody, and hopefully making a great play.
It speaks to the kind of player that you are, because anytime you find a player who embraces special teams, it means they're a little bit special. And of course, in Chicago, one of the greatest special teams players of all time played for the Bears. And of course, I'm talking about Devin Hester. I know you probably already know this, but realize that if you ever get thrown any special teams questions, don't be afraid to be like, oh, and by the way, he should be in the Hall of Fame. If you want to be an instant legend in Chicago, just go ahead and mention that, and everybody will. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to give you these little life.
I'm gonna keep that in mind.
You don't need me to tell you, because I've been very impressed with you so far, but just throw that out one time, and then you're an instant fan favorite in Chicago, and we are excited to have you. Looking back at your scouting reports and going back to what Lance Zierlein was saying, they had you as a second to third round pick, and you somehow managed to be selected in the fourth round. Again, I'm sorry for you. Happy for me selfishly, because you're a member of the Chicago Bears. What was that draft night experience like? What was it like going through that? Because I can't imagine what that must be like for a young man, especially somebody of your skill set. What that must have been like to go through the draft.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is, I was expected to. I was thinking, okay, yeah, probably day 2. So I kind of had that planned out. I even went live on Instagram that night as well. Had my family over. People drove up like 4 hours from my hometown to come and just, share the moment with me, to not have a moment. It was just it was a tough night for sure. Through the whole process, you got so much anxiety. You're just looking at your phone the whole time, waiting to see if a number's called. It's just so much anxiety, so much frustration, so much tenseness in the room as well, because it's just like, man. And then you see another receiver get taken, it's like, man. You get another one, taken, it's like, man. And so, it definitely was, discouraging at first. But, at the end of the day, day 3, ended up getting a phone call. And, it just, I'm pretty sure it would mean as much as me then, than if I was taken in a second. I was just in awe, because it's, like I said, something you grow up just watching, your whole life, just seeing guys get a phone call, that somebody, is willing to take a chance on you, and that they believe in you. And, that's kind of how I seen it. It was, maybe it wasn't in the second round or third round, but at the end of the day, somebody believed in me. And, I just take that with, like I said, just so much gratitude. And, I just, with the mindset of, okay, I got, I think, 16 receivers taken before me. Was I the 17th best receiver in this draft? I don't believe so. And you just carry that chip on your shoulder like I always have, even from when I was younger. When I was younger, I was, in high school, I was, I'd say I was under recruited. I had, coming out of my junior year, I had no offers. I remember maybe about a month later after the season, we had won the league title, and I had a great year. I remember going to my coach about a month later, and I was like, hey, coach, I love an opportunity to play at the next level, but I haven't heard anything from anybody. And he was pretty open and honest with me at the time and said, well, listen, I just really don't know where to go. Like, I don't know who to call, who to talk to. And, I took it upon myself. And I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up making my own email. I ended up making my own huddle highlight tape. I looked up, what college, likes, or what college coaches liked. And I ended up figuring out, by searching online to see, okay, who should I send this out to? And found that they had a person on staff called the Player Personnel of High School Relations. And I was like, okay, it looks like their job is to communicate with high school athletes. And for me, it was just, if I can get my foot in the door, I knew I could make something happen. And so sent it out to about 20 Division I schools, and one school responded, and it was Rutgers University. There was a guy named Omar Hills. He hit me back, and I said, my guy, shoot me a text. So I hit him up. I was like, what's good, coach? He said, hey, man, you got any offers yet? I was like, not one. And he said, word? He said, well, I'm about to change that. And so the next day I'm in my counselor's office getting ready to send my transcripts over to Rutgers. And my high school coach, he walks into the room and he says, "Hey, Tyler, not sure how they got my number, but Rutgers just called and said they want to be your first offer and that they're going to be your first offer and that they want you on campus ASAP." And they ended up becoming my first offer that same day. And that was actually my first visit as well. So once again, just being under recruited, overlooked, kind of just through my whole high school journey. It's just kind of something that, I was just kind of used to. And, not to be too long-winded, but, growing up in Ohio, there's one school you want to go to. Growing up, if you love football, there's one school you dream of going to, and that's Ohio State. And, I remember at the time, Ohio State came in 2 days in a row. They came in on a Thursday, and it was a running backs coach. He came in because I played running back in high school. And, I loved him. He loved me. It went great. They came in another day, the following day after they came in, and it was the receivers coach at the time. And so, he came in. He just kind of went this long rant about this, school down the street who didn't want to come to their football camp. And, he just talked about, just his frustration with that and said, at the end of the day, I just want you to come to our football camp. And I told him, I said, well, listen, I would love to, but I have official visits set up for Cincinnati and Indiana, those weeks or those days that you want me to come to your camp. I said, so I'm not going to be able to make it. And so he basically starts talking down on Cincinnati. He says, well, in Cincinnati, if you're the best player on the team, there's still likely a chance you won't even get drafted. He said, and then on top of that, Indiana, we beat up on them every year. He said, so at Ohio State, we create NFL caliber players. And so I said, well, that's interesting because everyone told me growing up that I needed to leave and go to all these bigger name schools in the area to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish. I said, but yet I stayed at home, worked hard, and I have a top 4 team in Ohio State, the mecca of football in Ohio, sitting right here in front of me. So you can't tell me that, if I'm not good enough that they're going to, they're not going to find me, just like you guys did here. I was like, and the NFL is not going to miss. So ended up going to Cincinnati, obviously having a great career, having a historic run, ranked higher than them actually at one point. And so, like I said, just been a constant theme of just being overlooked and just kind of, shoved to the side, so to speak. And so I've just always carried that chip on my shoulder ever since then.
And did that inspire you? Because one of the things that really stood out, now, obviously I liked you as a player as I got to watch you more and more. And when you're talking about some of those receivers, I know who you're talking about, like some of the guys, like one of the guys who went to Kansas City and the other guy who went, I know exactly who you're talking about. I loved, I liked you as a player. When you took all the hats and you shoved them on the floor, that to me, again, like you wearing Bears gear right now, I love to see that. That feels like the story that you just told, like that is the ultimate buildup to like, this is where I need to be. You said, and at that moment you said, this is the exact spot that I wanted to go. Why did you want to go to the Chicago Bears?
I mean, the history, man. I just love the history of Chicago. I grew up, my dad was the one that really got me into loving football. And his favorite player was Dick Butkus. And so, early on I'm watching Dick Butkus highlights. I'm like, man, this dude he's the truth. I'm like, man. And then my favorite player growing up, older player, was Gale Sayers. Loved Gale Sayers. And, being a running back, I loved him because I'm like, I just felt like, especially in like today's generation, I don't know if it's just the style of play, but it's just not running backs that move the same way as far as just the uniqueness of just how they move around the field. They do things that, I watch Gale Sayers do things. I'm like, man, he would get cussed out today if he did that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it worked, you know what I'm saying? Like it just had such a uniqueness to his style of running. And I just fell in love with that. And then also just Walter Payton. Loved watching Walter Payton, Sweetness. I used to love watching his documentaries and, things of that nature. Just growing up, just watching, the Chicago Bears and just, seeing, how many great players they have. I ended up looking up, what team had the most Hall of Famers. And I knew Chicago, I don't know if they're either number 1 or 2 as far as who had the most Hall of Famers in the NFL. And so, and then everybody says my dad looks like Mike Singletary. I
don't want to be the guy that said it, but yeah, that was a meme. That was a meme during the draft process.
Yeah, no, he does. Like literally, he calls me, every once in a while, he'll be like, "Hey man, I got it again today," And everyone always says like, "Hey, even when I was getting recruited, going to different colleges, certain coaches would be like, "Hey man, I gotta ask. I just gotta ask." are you? And he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, people be like, you could definitely cut some lines, just based off of who you look like. But he definitely does. I was just looking at a picture the other day. It was like an old Mike Singletary picture of him in his jersey. So he was younger at the time, and I was like, gosh, I'm like, you could convince me that's my dad. Like you could, like I'm like, you could convince me that that's my dad. And so, like I said, just kind of just grew up, just kind of in the Chicago Bears history, just kind of knowing and just kind of seeing exactly, who they were and just, what great players they had and just being a part of something like that, just seemed like, it'd be a dream come true.
I'm glad you brought that up about your dad, because I was sitting there like, I can't bring this up, but yeah, just certainly.
Yeah.
But it's that is one of the great things about the Chicago Bears is, as you mentioned, the history of the Bears and the great players that have played throughout the generations and who everybody in your family ends up being pulled to. Like my dad, for instance, has seen everybody. Like he saw Bill George, I don't know if he saw Bronco Nagurski, but pretty Sayers, all they saw him live, went to their games, and Walter Payton was his favorite player. Like that was his of everybody he's seen. Matt Forte, I have different players and everything like that. But that is the nice thing. And again, this is what speaks to me about you sitting here wearing a Bears sweatshirt. Like it's just like, okay, cool. Like it's cool to root for the Bears because there is so much history. I got the Dick Buckets back here for you. I noticed he is usually here, but I'm like, oh yeah, Tyler's gonna love this. One other guy, though, who's become a favorite of Bears fans is Justin Fields. And so obviously, you talk about possibly being recruited by Ohio State in the situation. What has it been like now? Now you're playing with Justin Fields. What is that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up an Ohio State fan. If you would have told me I was going to Cincinnati when I was younger, I'd be like, you're kidding. Like no, I'm going to Ohio State. Are you kidding me? So like I said, it's a real thing in Ohio. It's a real thing. And so I grew up watching Ohio State. All the way even up until I got to college. I always had an eye on what was Ohio State doing. It was just kind of ingrained in me. And so, like I said, I watched Justin Fields, sharing the backfield, with J.K. Dobbins, and just kind of watching, his career when he was at Ohio State. I think he might have left. I think he might have left Ohio State the year that I ended up coming in. So he played and then got drafted, and then I came in the next year, I want to say. Because they actually played Cincinnati the year before I came, I believe. Yes. So the year before I came, I want to say they ended up playing Cincinnati that year. And I was watching that game, very closely, for sure. And they put a whooping on Cincinnati at the time. But that was a great team. But once again, Justin Fields stood out. And like I said, I've been watching him ever since. And so, now coming to Chicago, just kind of seeing from afar what he's been doing and just how he's progressed each year, and then just sharing the locker room with him. He's just a good dude. He ended up texting me right after I got drafted. He's one of the first people to text me, Justin Fields. Yeah. He was one of the first people to hit me up, DM me on Instagram. And then, I got there my first day, one of the first people to come up and introduce himself, just to say what's up. We actually had a conversation today after the practice. Non-football related. It was more so about some nutritional things, but we just sat there and we just picked each other's brain and we just talked. He doesn't walk around, being this high and mighty type of character / figure. He just truly wants to just be the best. You could tell, just as far as his work ethic. Every day I leave the facility, and rookies have to stay a little, longer because we have, we're on a different plan than the vets. His car is still in the parking lot. He's probably the last to leave every single day. That's something that I notice every single day is I can see his car parked in the same spot every day. When I'm going on my way home after being there hours after the vets can leave, his car is still there, at the facility. So, like I said, just a real competitive dude as well. We were doing sprints. He's like, hey, I'm about to win every single one of them, in his group, and he went out and he ran like he was going to win every single one of them. And so, like I said, just a good dude, real down to earth. And like I said, you could just tell that he just wants to be great. And so it's easy to play for somebody like that and want to make his job easier, because ultimately that's just my job is to make him great.
I love to hear that. I think I'm sure I'll get killed in the comments for even mentioning this, but I think that the Cincinnati game was one that jump-started him as Ohio State went on, they had that they eventually met up with Clemson and going on and playing Alabama. I think it was the Cincinnati game that kind of launched him into the stratosphere there. But also, like when he texts you after the draft, do you have his number already in your phone, or does just a random number show up and you're like, who is this? Yeah, okay. And do you think it's one of your friends playing a trick on you?
No, well, at the time when he hit me up, at the time it was through Instagram, so it had the blue check mark and things like that. It was the official when he had like 3 million followers, whatever. So I'm like, okay, so this is the Justin Fields hit me up, and I was just like, oh wow, this is that's when it kind of hit me because I've always heard of stories like, oh yeah, guys, other guys saying like, yeah, that quarterback, he texted me, hit me up or whatever, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, and then actually to be able to experience that, it's pretty cool because I also collected sports cards as well, and so to actually be sharing the locker room with him was pretty cool.
Yeah, but you got to get over the starstruckness though. You got to go out and you got to help him out. I will ask you from a player's perspective though, because there's a kid on Twitter, it's like Green Bay fan forever 468-742 or some blogger named Billy Bob Lombardi who contend that Justin Fields isn't a real quarterback because he runs so much. What is it like from a player's perspective playing with somebody? Like, I know that you haven't had a lot of experience with it, but over a couple of practices, like what's it like being with Justin, who has that dual threat ability, and what have you noticed about him being able to throw the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that jumps off to me is the fact that he throws a really good football, like a really good football. Just as far as just the way it comes off, just a real catchable ball. Like that's just the best way I can describe it. I actually did kind of feel what it was like to play with a dual threat, having Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati.
That's true. Yeah, I guess
he was a dual threat type of guy, so to speak, when we were in college, and so I have kind of dealt with that kind of scenario, situation in my last year. I had a complete pocket quarterback, so kind of got the both worlds, but with him, like I said, the first thing that jumped off to me just throwing the ball with them, routes on air, things, and I'm like, man, this dude throws a good tight spiral ball that's just catchable. Just easy to see, not wobbly, those type of things that matter to a receiver, which just makes it easier to catch. And then, he hasn't even, I'll be honest with you, he hasn't, all the practice we've been through, he hasn't really ran too much. Like it's literally been all pocket passing. And the times that he has kind of escaped the box, I think that's another thing, just kind of his playmaking ability. The times that he has escaped the box, the biggest thing as a receiver, just kind of watching him, is to really just continue to stay ready. He may be escaping the box or he may be scrambling or whatever, but you're still a target. I don't know if that's something that he's trying to, kind of focus in on. For this upcoming years, yes, maybe getting outside of the box, but kind of more so using his, legs to create more opportunities, to push the ball down the field. That's just kind of some things that I've noticed just kind of off the bat. It's just kind of, him having his eyes really down the field and not just looking to just run the ball necessarily. And so as a receiver, it's just constantly just being open, just continue to continue to get open. The play's not dead, at any point until, the whistle blows. So, that's just kind of how Patrick Mahomes kind of does, where it's just kind of, backyard football, so to speak, where he just kind of gets out the pocket and then it's just get open. So, just starting to see a little bit of hints of that, at least for the few days that I've been here, or the few practices that I've seen.
No, it's exciting. And it makes sense too. I mean, he's obviously exceptional as a runner. He's got that down. I can see now trying to work and get some timing. Is DJ Moore been out there when you've been practicing?
Oh yeah.
What's that been like? Because obviously he's coming in new to this team as well, but he's an established NFL player. What's it like working with somebody who's a veteran but also new and trying to learn everything about Chicago and about the offense?
Yeah, I mean, you could just tell he's been around. That's just kind of the best way I can describe it. Just kind of watching him run routes. I just told my dad this other day. I'm like, because he asked about him. I'm like, well, he kind of runs routes as if he's been around. Like that's just the best way I can describe it. He just kind of anticipates certain things when running routes. He just has a certain type of style of like, okay, I know what to expect. It's just like a calmness, just a confidence about him that he plays with. and he's made some plays so far through four OTA plays or practices. He's made a lot of really good plays, and it seems like him and Justin Fields have a pretty good connection so far. It looks really good just from afar, just watching as rookie. He just has a good feel for just understanding the game, understanding how a DB is trying to play him. Great tempo to his routes. I've been trying to kind of take some of his, some of what he does and trying to add it to my game. And it's more so with him, it's just kind of his body language and just as far as how he comes off the ball, how he sets DBs up. And so I'm just kind of trying to mirror that up with my game. And so he's just been a good person to just kind of learn from as far as just kind of playing football, just to kind of watch.
Yeah. What do you do? So the next couple of weeks, as you get ready, training camps a little bit in the distance, but what are the things that you're working on? What are you trying to improve on? And what do the next couple of weeks and months look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, coming in, as a rookie, honestly, you could ask any rookie. It feels like you're a freshman in college kid. Like truly, you feel like a freshman in college all over again. And the biggest thing is just the playbook. That's pretty much the toughest adjustment because at the end of the day, football is pretty much football everywhere, and it's just a lot of people run the same things. They just call it differently, and so just kind of hearing different languages, there's different names for different things. It's just kind of getting those things down, especially coming from a new system and also even new coaching as well. That's something that people kind of don't realize as well. Like that's a thing as well. Just taking, you've been in college for 3 to 4 years, with some people one coach like I had, and then you're coming into a whole new system. Hearing things over and over again for years, and now coming to another level where sometimes it's the same and sometimes there's differences. Just being able to break out of some of the habits that you had when you were in college. And just kind of adapt to the situations that you're in. Those are also part of the things that you have to go through as far as coming into a new system. So like I said, the biggest thing is just getting the playbook down. And because once you get the playbook down, it's you can be you can be the person that they drafted you to be, because you can play fast and you could just end up just being you, because when your first day, you're going out there like, man, am I lined up in the right position? You're not even really looking at the defense, so you're just kind of still processing things. I'll hear a call in the huddle. I'm jogging out. I'm like, wait a second. He said what? So like I said, just continue to learn those things and ultimately just get better at it. So just really just getting that down.
What's the speed been like? Because obviously you're one of the fastest players in college, and watching you play at Cincinnati, it's like, gosh, it jumps off the tape of how fast you are. What's it like going to that NFL level and be like, oh, these guys are fast too?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen necessarily a huge jump as far as speed that I thought I would see, which is encouraging because that means the game just kind of slows down for you. But one thing I have noticed, it's not necessarily, at least for me, it's not necessarily the speed. It's more so the knowledge. They know what they're doing. They have a better understanding of what's going on the other side of the ball. They're just more. I mean, they're obviously making their paychecks too. Like it's a reason why they're there, and so that I think that's the biggest difference for me. Just kind of watching is just how intelligent, how smart DBs are, and just the defense in itself, how intelligent they are, individually and just as a whole. I think that's for me been the biggest difference.
I love it. Well, listen, I've loved all of this, and I really am appreciative of you taking a little bit of time away, especially with practices going on and everything, to spending some time with us here. You're kind of like me too, because I know you were talking about this. You're like, I'm a little long-winded. I'm like, no, be long-winded. I'm the same way. I was on some kid's podcast earlier today, and they have the 40 minutes free Zoom. Oh, I ate that 40 minutes up. There was no doubt about it. But I promised Jeff that we wouldn't keep you too long. Jeff, this was his fault, not my fault. It was his fault. He kept talking. So don't get mad at us. Tyler keeps talking. Like I'm not gonna cut him off. But listen, I want to do this again. I really want to I want to get into to more about you personally. I think there's more layers to get the real Tyler. Get the real Tyler. But this has been great. I love this as an introduction. I'm so thrilled for you to be a member of the Chicago Bears. If you see my buddy Velus Jones, tell him I still love him. Don't tell Velus not to get jealous. This is not a competition. Okay. we're fine. I can be friends with everybody. But we're really excited to have you as a member of the Chicago Bears. I'm looking forward to everything that you're going to be able to do for the team this season. And I feel very confident with this Bears team. I think you're in very good hands. I'm glad you liked it. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. They how much do you hate Green Bay yet? Like, you've learned the history of the Bears. Tell me you hate Green Bay already.
Man, hate is a strong word.
Dislike? If I see you during a jersey swap with Christian Watson, I am going to be very. No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, you're probably not got to worry about that one. I don't necessarily care for the Green Bay Packers. I don't. But I will say I am a student of the game, so I have done my research in my history lesson on Green Bay. There is a lot of good teaching points that you can take from just their history and just for football in general. All biasness and things aside, but. I'm definitely more invested in the Chicago Bears because they ended up taking a chance on me and believed in me. So, like I said, I'm just grateful for that opportunity, and they'll always have my heart.
Beautiful answer. I love every part of that. All right, well, that's good. Tyler, listen, let's keep in touch. I would love to do this again. Hopefully I'll be able to get out to Chicago at some point this summer. Then we can link up and maybe do this again in person. But you know what? You're welcome here at the Sick Podcast at any time. We're rooting for you. This is now the Ty Scott jersey. So
Sure.
we're stoked to have you. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks so much. Bear down. There he goes. The great Tyler Scott. Excited. I loved him when we came in and we were doing a little green room chat. Instantly sometimes you're like, oh, this guy's great. So really appreciative. And by the way, thanks to Sammy and Anello for setting those up. Thanks to his agent, Jeff, who also was able to get him on, over the last couple of weeks. We've also had Kendall Williamson in too. So we've been able to get in with some of these Bears rookies, and we appreciate everybody who is here tonight. I know you were asking questions. Tyler was so great that we couldn't get to him. And so we just had a great conversation with him. So I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. If you love this show, if you thought this was a good interview, or if you at least thought that Tyler was great and Rank was, whatever, just comment using the word sick. Remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube, the Facebook, all that stuff. And if you haven't downloaded this podcast, wherever you can do that, just do it. You don't have to listen to it. Just download it. Give us a subscriber. And if you could rate it and reply, that would also help us out a bunch. So I want to thank again, everybody for being here. Thanks to Tyler Scott for joining us. And we will see you all real soon. And until that time, bear down, and Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.